Welcome back, Kagurabachi fans. In my last video, we talked about chapter 51, and we went over some of the plot points and character introductions in the chapter. And just within 2 chapters, we've already gotten what seems to be now the conclusion of the fight between our main character Chiro and Hishaku's Hirohiko. And the fight itself is pretty damn great. So I figured, why don't I catch us up on the most recent 2 chapters, and if feedback is great, well then maybe we'll cover the chapters weekly. Alrighty, let's get into it. So to catch us up on the last 2 most recent chapters, today we'll be looking at chapter 52, Just the Two of Us, which I freaking love the title, and chapter 53, Darkness, which, sheesh, it gets pretty dark. So chapter 52 starts off with a flashback to the beginning of this new arc, before Chiro leaves to go escort one of the Enchanted Blade users, Yoji. We jump into a conversation between Chiro and, hands down, the best character in the series, my favorite character, Hayuki. Which, for those of you who aren't aware, she's one of the Kabunabi's top fighters, but she makes it clear that the Kabunabi have struggled with getting information on the Hishaku, and this is creating a pattern that's made the struggle over obtaining the Enchanted Blades within the last 3 years worse between the 2 groups. She tells Chiro the only way to break this stalemate is to incapacitate or capture one of Hishaku's members. Flashback to current time, where we have Chiro facing off against Hishaku's Hirohiko, as he opens up with the line, "I'm gonna make this creep spill it," which I freaking love, as he activates one of his Enchanted Blade abilities, Nishiki, which, if you guys aren't familiar, gives him pretty much an overall stat boost, so increased speed, and his attacks essentially hit harder. So where we left off with these 2, Haruhiko was able to corner Chiro with his Hishaku goons, who have a bit of a power boost from these powerful shards that were made in the first arc. I'm gonna gloss over that detail with how those shards are made from one of the Enchanted Blades, but comment below if you guys are interested in me covering any of the previous arcs where I can go over all those details. Haruhiko states that he's excited for this fight and that he's also the same age as Chiro, which is 18. In this fight, Haruhiko is going to make an attempt to show Chiro that they both have a lot in common. And then Hirohiko also states that he's never considered anyone else up here before, but both of their hands are stained with blood, and because of that, Haruhiko thinks Chiro and him should become friends. But my boy Chiro is not having it with this conversation. He lunges towards Haruhiko, but then he's swarmed by Hishaku henchmen. This is when we get a sneak peek of Haruhiko's sorcery, Blood Crane, which, I'm not gonna lie, is extremely reminiscent of Conan from the series Naruto, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm really gonna enjoy seeing this animated whenever we get a Kagurabachi anime, or even a Kagurabachi video game. This will be a dope level to fight. Haruhiko then uses his technique to create confusion and disappears, leaving Chiro to fight the henchman on his own. Now, this is the part of the chapter that really threw me off for a second, and I'm super glad that I waited for that second chapter to come out to really put the whole fight into perspective. But what Haruhiko is setting up next is so diabolical, it's great. When we cut to Haruhiko, he's walking into a Japanese stage play, where they are playing the Battle of Sano Island. He then sits down and enjoys the entertainment, and then even starts conversating with another audience member. The next scene jumps to Chiro in midair fighting off the henchmen, when Hirohiko explains that these henchmen not only have the added boost of the Enchanted Blade shards, but they also have been handpicked by him. Along with this, they also have the assist of Hirohiko's Blood Cranes, which we see directing the henchmen in their fight, which I actually thought was a great addition to adding or giving them an edge against Chiro. But it's all wasted effort as Chiro comes crashing through the ceiling of the theater as he's slicing and blending up these henchmen with his blade. Chiro then lands gracefully in a shower of blood right in front of Haru, and the chapter ends with Haru telling Chiro that only he can truly understand him, as Chiro replies with, "Cut the BS." And that's pretty much going to be where chapter 52 leaves off at. The setup for what comes next in the next chapter was great. You're really not going to see it coming. But yeah, so let's jump into chapter 53. It opens up with a color page. This is the last page in the last chapter, so it was really great to see that in color. But this chapter is also included with a double page spread in color. I guess this is like an opening to this new arc. So we get Samura and Yoji, the 2 Enchanted Blade masters, on the cover, along with Chiro and Haru. So it's kind of cool because chapter 53 opens up where my last video left off at, where we have a flashback of young Chiro and the blind Enchanted Blade wielder Seiichi. And it's pretty cool because now we see the progression of Chiro being able to slice the same bamboo that he was struggling with before receiving Seiichi's guidance. And we kind of have a funny moment where Seiichi pokes Chiro in the eyes and says, "I sense he was gazing me at in admiration." And it's a quick little moment, but it's actually going to play a pivotal role in this chapter. Seiichi Samura then looks at Chiro and says, "Don't get starry-eyed, we killed tons of people." And I appreciate, by the way, that he doesn't want to glorify what he did years ago when he wielded his enchanted blade, so that's pretty cool. So then we cut out of the flashback to Chiro charging at Haru, and Haru uses Blood Crane to phase into the crowd that's at the stage play. And this was a cool little twist. Like, you have this build up with Haru saying he's excited for this fight, but then leaves in the middle of it to go watch a stage play. But the twist is that he's going to use the crowd as bait, as Chiro, he's not going to assumingly attack him directly with innocent bystanders around. But yeah, I'm not going to lie, I know Haru is a villain and all, but it's a great utilization of his technique, but definitely shows how he doesn't care about, these innocent bystanders that are around. So with Haru now completely concealed within his paper in the crowd, he then analyzes that Chiro can't copy his technique Blood Crane, which is another ability of Chiro's enchanted blade. Haru then explains that in the play that we just witnessed, there's a scene where the enemy takes hostages and the hero Sasuke is paralyzed, so the enemy gets away. But according to Haru, Sasuke is garbage, and you can't worry about hostages, whether it's one or two, in real life, because you'd be dead. So then he states that Chiro is Sasuke, huh? His blood cranes then come showering down, slicing Chiro. We then cut back into the flashback where Seiichi reveals to Chiro why he blinded himself, and says, "The first time I cut a person, I couldn't stand to see the severed flesh. That's the other reason why I blinded myself, but that image never goes away." He says, "I could feel myself becoming a monster." Young Chiro then says, "But even after that, you still chose to wield an enchanted blade to save everyone?" And he says, "Yes, I had to keep flailing in the darkness, but I'm going to hell." And young Chiro says, "Well, instead of admiring you, I will respect you." We cut back to Chiro, covered in blood, but thanks to his Nishiki ability, he was able to withstand Haru's assault of paper. We then see Chiro activate his blade's ability, Kuro, which unleashes flying slashes. He then says, "Sorry, but I'm going down the same path," implying that he's also going to hell. We then see Chiro metaphorically flail through the darkness. This is hell, as he unleashes his slashes into the crowd, covering the entire page with blood or black ink, metaphorically, whatever you want to take. And by the way, can we call this a dark shonen yet, by the way? We then see a subdued Haru, so mission accomplished, and Chiro says, "Don't worry, I'm a sinner too." So it all finally comes full circle, with Chiro going through hell and back, literally, and then I guess ultimately back to hell when he dies, just like the heroes he respects, like Seiichi Samura. But that's gonna catch us up, guys. That was one hell of a fight. This arc is literally just started and is off with a bang. But it's gonna be interesting seeing Haru get interrogated, or what information he gives up to Chiro about his shaku. Let me know what you guys think or predictions you guys have in the comments. And yeah, if you guys are interested, I'll be back next week for the next chapter. And peace.